So anyway, how
Well,
you do?
none of the other things were working. So this thing, and it looks like the last time I ever used this was there's a friend of ours that's a really great tattooer in Germany, and he was doing this crazy uh, thing for some tattoo magazine in Germany, and they knew that I had an old. There used to be like this really. He's passed now, but there was a guy named Rollo Banks, and he's kind of one of the. It's a long Tim story, but he like there were there's a Sailor Jerry guy you always hear about, and I'm not a huge tattoo. It's like I don't have tattoo magazines or anything like that, so it's not like I'm a big historian on this. But there was three. There was Sailor Jerry, and so when Sailor Jerry, there was three guys that went to go see Sailor Jerry back in the beatnik days in the '50s, and one of them was Bob Roberts, and then the guy that puts out Tattoo Times and all that stuff and made it such a big deal now, and then Rollo, and it's kind of a big deal that I got something from Rollo that's on me, so they wanted to do this interview and stuff, and just took pictures of all these different, and so that's literally I think that was like maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, something. And so that's the last time I've ever been on this thing. So,
It's been a couple of years for myself too.
yeah.
I didn't
So
even
I
know
mean,
Skype still
we usually
existed.
just use FaceTime. So, and then we've done it. We've done the other one too, but FaceTime's pretty much what we always use. So,
It's probably much easier. But I used to have an iPhone SE, but it died.
yeah,
But
yeah,
but yeah, man, how you doing though?
doing okay. It's good. So it's good. It's going to be cold here tonight, so that's good. So,
I'm really glad that I looked up your name because I wanted to get an interview with someone from the Big Boys, and I'm glad I looked your name up because you have a very fantastic and very colorful music background. Like, I'm gonna
oh,
consider you the art punk king of the entire scene right there. You have so many Bad Mother Goose, High Lord Fixer, High Lord Fixers, right?
Lord Eye Fixers, yeah. And Lord Eye Fixers is actually the band to me that's my favorite band I've
Oh
ever
yeah,
been in. And so that was just early an amazing, amazing to me that I got to do that and be part of it and stuff. So
I'm a noise rock kid. I grew up on punk, but I love ever since I heard Sonic Youth in 2011. My brain just twitched in a different way, and anything experimental, jazzy, noise rock. Oh yeah, feed me
yeah.
that for every meal a day.
Well, you should the very last two Lord High Fixer records are a big mix of all kinds of stuff. So you should, at some point listen to that. So, um,
So in regards to the Big Boy, since that's the one I've heard the longest. See, you were the guitarist in the Big Boys, right?
yep.
And that band is a fusion of hardcore punk and literally everything else you can imagine. Just what
Well,
type?
that's what it was supposed to be.
I know it's amazing.
That's what that's why I have a really hard time with the whole label of punk and just any of this kind of because labels to me are just like so. I've that's been kind of one of my pet peeves ever since junior high school. I mean, it's just like back then I was labeled as gay, I was labeled as a drug dealer, I was labeled as which I wasn't any of that stuff, and basically all of these different things like beatnik, punk, hippie, rockabilly, hardcore, whatever kind of thing. All of that stuff started with me and you sitting here deciding, hey, we're going to start this thing over here. And if you guys want to come, cool. And if you don't, that's okay too. And, and then all of a sudden it gets, once it gets going, it gets a name, it gets a uniform, it gets all these rules, which has nothing to do with what
It
we
was supposed,
started.
yeah, it's what it was supposed to be.
Because it's supposed to be it's freedom. That's what self-expression is. It's freedom. Same thing with skating or surfing or any of this stuff. It's your personal self-expression, your freedom, and I just I like I say, it's like one of my biggest pet peeves is to be put into some little bitty box because of one thing that happened,
Yeah,
during this journey that's going on. So I'm super honored when people ask, and I'm humbled and just like kind of amazed. But at the same time, I hope I haven't seen the best thing yet, and it's not over. I'm not dead yet. So it's like
I'm very happy that you're alive and doing well.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to hear future projects from you. Yeah, I just like that. I started with the big boys, and then I looked into your name a bit more, and I found Poison 13, Bad Mother Goose, and the Brothers and Grimm, Monkey Wrench, which I absolutely love. The King Sound
Yeah.
Quartet, the Now Time Delegation, and the Lord High Fixers. You
Yeah.
have a very magical music touch, man. I gotta say that.
Well, but I mean, I'm doing it because it's me. It's something. It's like breathing air. It's something I kind of have to do to live, and so it's just, art, music, all that stuff is connected to me, and whether somebody's listening or not, it doesn't stop. It's like the newest thing I'm doing now is a thing with a friend Jerry that's just total acoustic, which is kind of how I started out to begin with. It's like a banjo and guitar, and that's basically it, instrumental kind of stuff. So,
Hell yeah, dude. Did you
but it's
have you ever been involved with, or are you a fan of the No New York, the No Wave fan in the late '70s in New York?
Yeah, I definitely have that album and kind of knew about stuff and saw James Chance. I saw him play with the Flaming Demonics
That's
back.
awesome.
And the best thing about that was so great was that like he had the whole band behind him was black. And we were in some little bitty club, and it was definitely in the '80s, and they're all playing, and the people have music. There's like music stands, like all the band behind him and stuff that are supposed to be doing this. And then he went into the James Brown, Papa's Got a Brand New Bag, or whatever it was that he was playing, and they all just kind of threw the mic stands away, or the music stands, and just took off. It was great. You could tell it was just like, oh hell yeah, we got this, kind of deal. So it was
Yeah,
pretty.
I love music that touches in those specific areas. In
Yeah.
my opinion, I wish there were kind of more. Since I grew up in hardcore, I wish there were more noisy. I mean, yeah, with the labels, but I wish there were more bands that tried different stuff out.
Well, there was kind of at the first because there wasn't any really rules or anything to this. Nobody it hadn't been divided into the little camps yet and stuff, and so literally back at, when you first started playing, you could easily play with a synthesizer band mixed with a rockabilly band mixed with a such and such band. I mean,
Was
it
that the
was just
early '80s or the late '70s?
late '70s. It was just all the weirdos together kind of type thing. So it's just there just wasn't really a a uniform put to it
Yeah,
yet,
the
kind of
cliques and all
thing.
that.
Huh?
Cliques, like in high school,
Yeah,
you have the
yeah, yeah,
cliques.
yeah. Tribes, cliques, whatever, kind of type thing. So,
You
I
ever?
mean, the funny thing about that stuff is that because now people are doing the whole thing with pronouns, like him, them, they, like kind of, and cool, but it's like my pronoun is me, Tim. It's like you should be, and a good example of this is that somebody I got asked to. I went to go do a show in Chicago, like an art show, and if you haven't ever seen the documentary on Vivian Maier, you really ought to watch that. It's really really great. This photographer, it's a woman that you should just watch it. It's great. Her name's Vivian Maier. But anyway, I had a art show with the guy who did the doc, and so they asked me to come and talk at the School of Rock in Chicago, and so I went there, and there was somebody asked me. I think he was probably getting ready to go into high school, I think, or something, and he was asking me about. He was really concerned about telling people that he was straight edge. He wanted to make sure people knew that he was. And I, of course, me, like you don't really know me that good yet, but everybody that knows me was just smiling because it's just like I'm like, well, why? And the guy's like looking, and I was like, well, are you happy? And he's like, yeah. I said, well, then why do you have to put a label on it? Like as soon as you say I'm straight edge, somebody in that room is going to be giddy,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
because
exactly.
it's like why. And then the point that really went over to him was I said, back. I was in high school from '70 to '74. I didn't do drugs. I didn't drink. That was at the height of, lots of people doing drugs and drinking and stuff, early '70s and school and stuff. What was I? They didn't have straight edge back then. So what'd you call me? What was I? Kind of thing. And you literally saw the light bulb go off in the kid's head. And later he came up, gave me a hug, and it was great. But it's that. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's
I
you're
want to be
you.
different.
Yeah. And if you want to be different, and be yourself, be you, kind of type thing. So,
Yeah, a
I
lot
don't
of
know. Stuff that, like I say, that's just one of my. I don't have that many, but that's definitely one of them. One of my pet peeves. It's just that whole label. That's why in all the Estra stuff, when I was recording all the bands in the '90s and stuff for them, and doing a lot of that, and I kept trying to get Dave to not put producer, because producer, like, there's so many there's so much baggage attached to all of this stuff, vegetarian, producer, artist, musician, but kind of that I have nothing to do with. And I kept trying to get him to just put guidance counselor, just put coach, just something that's not that freaking label, kind of thing. So anyway.
I was gonna make a comment on one of your. I think it's the Monkey Wrench. Did you work on that album with Mark from Green
Yeah.
River?
Yeah.
I just learned that earlier, and I was like, holy shit, that's another favorite band I grew up listening to.
Well, that's the reason that band happened was because, and this just shows you, you have no clue once you start doing these podcasts and stuff you're putting out, you don't have a clue how it might affect somebody or how it might influence somebody. You just don't know. Some kid might be listening right now and decide, I'm going to do one of these kind of thing, and you just influence somebody. You don't even realize. So Poison 13, basically here in Austin, we were not really liked very much at all,
Oh, you weren't?
because we were way too bluesy for the punk rock crowd. We were way too punk rock for the blues crowd. And you had the whole group of people that thought we had started Poison 13 to kick out Biscuit and do, quit Big Boys, which was not true at all. And so nobody really liked us here, but in Seattle, that record and a band called Tales from Terra, which was a really great band too, was a big deal there. And so we're basically cited as being one of the inspirations for grunge. Is that, even though I don't even know, we're not even close to really what grunge was, but just the attitude of what we're talking about now. Just, there's no boundaries here, and yeah, you can play blues. What the hell? You can play funk. You can play.
Play what you love.
So basically, when Mudhoney came here to play, Bad Mother Goose wasn't on tour, and I went to the show. And Mark and Steve were all excited that I was there, and came over and started talking to me and stuff. And the more we talked, I just kind of said, there's a whole bunch of stuff that never was recorded from that band. And Mark took the ball and ran. And so Sub Pop flew me up there, and that's that. The very first Monkey Wrench record is basically the last Poison 13 songs, but Mark wrote new words to them. And then 10 years later, when Matt had gotten out of Mudhoney and they were kind of in a limbo and they were trying to figure out what to do, they wanted to do Monkey Wrench again. And so the second record was, we all wrote and stuff together, and then we did another record after that. So, but that's what that band is, because they were big fans of, something we were doing here. So,
Yeah, as I was listening to Monkey Wrench, at first I didn't know that it was Mark, but that his voice is very, very, very unique, and plus he sang with the Green River style of vocals which
yeah.
I'm not gonna try to impersonate that because I'll fail miserably at it. But I was like, wow, shit! Did the research? It's the same guy, gnarly.
Well, when Green River Records came out, it was really funny. Like the reviews, a lot of times the reviews would say, "This is like Poison 13, blah blah blah," kind of type thing. So that's how I found out about Green River. Was somebody had sent me something going, "Hey, you should listen to this band," kind of thing. And so then I heard them, so I thought it was cool. But
When was since I don't know the years, when I guess I could say the chronology of Monkey Wrench and all them, since I just recently found out about them. I listened to a couple albums from each one of the bands that I found of yours, but I didn't really get some of the years on that stuff.
well, Big Boys was first. And then and you have to realize, for me, there wasn't really ever even a day off. Really, it was just kind of nonstop for a while. And so Big Boys was first, and then Poison 13, and then Bad Mother Goose, and then Monkey Wrench. And Monkey Wrench being the first time that Monkey Wrench recorded. So it makes sense, because
Yeah.
we were only going to do the one record and play once. We weren't really going to be a band. We were just kind of like, they got Tom Price, who's really great and was in that amazing band. If you haven't ever heard them, the U-Men, you should really listen to the
The
U.
Human.
Yeah,
I
because the
think
U
I've heard of the name. I haven't
Letter
listened to
U
them.
and then MEN, and they're kind of, they predate, like, Green River and those bands. Like, everybody cites Tom. Supposedly that's why the guy in I'm gonna have Alzheimer's really bad when I get old. The guy that was in Nirvana, the singer,
Kurt Cobain.
the reason he was playing that guitar was because Tom Price played that kind of guitar. Tom was just like,
Oh,
and Tom, the U-Men were the only band that saw Poison 13, because they came down here one summer right when our first record came out, and their bus broke down. So
oh
they were here
shit.
for the whole summer, and they played with us and stuff like that. And so so he was definitely going to be a guitar player in the band, because he had seen us, kind of thing. And then but Steve wanted to be involved really bad, so Steve decided to play bass. So that's how you had Mark and Steve in there. And then Martin had just moved there from Australia, and he was in a lot of really great kind of noisy bands like Lubricated Goat and just all
Oh,
from Australia and stuff. And he was,
damn.
yeah. So that's how it all kind of got going. So basically, we were going to play the one time, and that was it. And so I got home from that, and then there was like a whole summer where I wasn't really in anything, which was kind of nice. And I wasn't really, everything had been kind of amazing to me, and I wasn't really. I was just, like we've been talking about through the emails, just kind of stay open. Does that make sense? Like I wasn't in these bands to be talking to somebody 30, 40 years later on some podcast. I was just doing, it was
Yeah.
something to do at that point in time that was fun and liked doing and all that stuff. And so I wasn't really looking at this like a career, and I still don't. And
It just
just
kind of
any of
happened.
that. So we got together, did the show in Seattle, and that was it. And we weren't going to play anymore. And so there was a whole summer that kind of went by. And then Walter, who was in a band called, we were in a band called Jack of Fire. That's how Jack of Fire got started.
Jack of Fire.
And Jack of Fire, you should listen to that if you haven't heard that
Yeah,
yet.
I listened to a little bit from it.
And basically all we did was covers and just all this crazy stuff. And it started back up. And that was probably, so I guess 90 is when the very first Monkey Wrench record happened. And then probably into 90, 91 is when Jack of Fire started. And then Here We Go Again. And then all the bands just kept, and every band I would keep saying, okay, this is it. This is the last one. We're not going to do this anymore. And more stuff. So finally, Beth and everybody else were just rolling their eyes. And I finally, by the time Now Time Delegation got going, I just quit saying, this is the last one. I just like rolled with it and whatever.
Pretty much.
So I don't say last anymore. And then during the 90s was when everybody started asking me to record bands. And, and then I went to Brazil, went to Italy, went to a bunch of different places recording bands, and recorded a lot of stuff in America, and just all of that. And then the art thing, like I'd done art. I've played music and done art ever since before elementary school. I just have. And so, through all the bands, I was doing covers and, posters and things like that. And I just wasn't painting real big or anything. And probably, I don't know, maybe 10, 11, 12 years ago, some people decided like, oh, wait, Tim does art. Ask him, kind of thing. And that's how the whole art thing got going again. So now that's mainly what I'm mainly doing, is more art than I am anything else. But still playing with, like I say, with Jerry and and things like that. So
Yeah, I've seen some of your artwork posted on the net and on your profile. I like what I've seen so far. Do you have anything for sale or whatnot?
yeah, you just have to write to me and ask and stuff. I don't really have anybody that represents me or anything like that. And
I
there's
will.
definitely some galleries that have art that they still have that are for sale. But I mean, for the most part, it's just you write to me and ask and stuff. So
I'll definitely be doing that. Yeah, I've seen. I was gonna mention you're an accordion player, right?
yeah, play. I started playing. I'd always really loved Irish music and tried to. And I could play it on the guitar because, like I say, in junior high and high school, and literally all the way until Big Boys started, I still do. I was playing acoustic, and I was really into John Martin and Nick Drake and Burt Yatch and just all that kind of finger picking type stuff. And I'd always wanted to play Irish music, and I finally kind of I could do it on guitar, but it sounded like a Ken Burns documentary. It didn't sound like Irish. It just like so I literally my 50th birthday, I think, I decided, okay, I'm learning. Because I don't really ever do New Year's resolutions, but if I do a resolution, I do it on my birthday, and so I decided, okay, I'm gonna learn Irish music, and so I picked up the frickin' accordion, this button accordion, and which people call the Alzheimer's Buster, and
What?
started learning, and then basically in Texas, most people that play a button accordion in Texas either play Tex-Mex or they play Cajun, and I'm not doing any of that. So playing
Yeah.
Irish the whole time. So yeah,
In 2013, when I moved to San Francisco, which that was the year after I graduated high school,
yeah,
I was walking along. I think it was the Pier 39, and there was this dude. His name is I think Josh. Yeah, Josh. And he was playing an accordion, and I was standing there, started filming him because it was just such amazing music. I had never actually seen someone play an accordion in person.
yeah.
I tipped him a 10, and I started to walk away, and then right as he started to play, I came back, filmed him again, and then I interviewed him, and then I was like, I know you've never met me in person, and I understand if you're gonna say no to this, but can I play your accordion? He's like, how much money you got? I'm like, I think I've got about $300. He's like, promise to hand me that if you drop and break this. I was like, I'm not gonna drop and break it. He's like, fine, just don't drop it. I didn't drop it. I sat there and I played it so horribly bad because I'd never played one before. But I
Yeah.
had my moment with an accordion, and he's like, you might wanna get some lessons on this because
Was
you
it a piano one or was it a button one?
piano.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like, he told me, he's like, you suck, man. I'm like, sorry, I just wanted to play one.
Yeah.
There's even a
And
fucking video of this too.
I had a show at Needles and Pens. That's a really great store in San Francisco that sells fanzines and just kind of homemade goods, and they have a little gallery and stuff. They're really great. It's an independent kind of store, and and I've had a couple of different shows there. But one of the first ones I got a hold of a bunch of friends because usually what I would do is I would like wherever I had a show, I would get a hold of somebody and say, hey, do you know anybody that plays old time or Irish music? Do you have friends or any kind of thing? And then we'd have just a big session when the show was supposed to happen, so then we could have music and I could sit and play and with, brand new friends and new extended family kind of thing. And so I got a bunch of crew of people to come to play at Needles and Pens, and I didn't tell the people at Needles and Pens, which was
Oh
great. I
shit.
mean, all I told them was, and this is what I used to do too with all these places. I just say, hey, do you think you have can we get like 8 or 9 chairs there that don't have arms? And you can kind of see them thinking, okay, is he going to do a sculpture? Is he going to what, kind of, and then people would start showing up and you just start bringing out the chairs and set them down and the circle would start. And here we go, kind of, it was great kind of
Hell
deal.
yeah.
But anyway, it was me and a friend of mine, Rich Jacobs, that does really great art too and stuff. And we were supposed to go do a kind of a little radio show type thing. And I had the accordion with me in my backpack. and we got on, and it was raining all day long. I had a whole bunch of stuff with me, and then I had this accordion thing, and we got on one of those crazy accordion kind of bus things, where it's like two big sections or three or whatever kind of thing. And the thing shifted in such a way, and I slipped and fell back, and I didn't even it wasn't even like a bad fall, or it didn't even feel like a big thud or anything. And when we got to the radio show, the person was like, "Oh, what's in that bag?" And I said, "Oh, this is this really great little accordion. You should look at that." And I opened it up, and the whole thing had been snapped because of when I fell, like the whole
Oh,
kind of ridge. And it took me a minute because I'm looking at it thinking, well, what is this, the front, the back? What's it look? And then I realized, oh shit, kind of thing. And I found somebody that could fix it, and they fixed it literally that night. And so the next day, the show was going to open the next night, and by that night, I had it fixed and
that's
sat out and
awesome.
played with all these people. So it was pretty amazing though. But that's my San Francisco accordion story. So.
Nice. We're exchanging stories about San Francisco accordions. I really wonder where that guy is now. Like it was just so fucking random. I was like,
Yeah,
yeah. I was like, I'm not promising you $300. I just won't drop it. How about that?
yeah, yeah.
But I just love the blast of music that I from every band that you've shared with me, other than Up Around the Sun. I couldn't find. Did I say that right? Up Around the Sun.
Yeah.
I
I can.
can't.
Somebody did a little film on us and stuff, which is pretty
Yeah, I
great. And
can't find that one anywhere.
I can send you something. That's on. I think that, I mean, if you literally Google "Up Around the Sun," and you'll see some different clips and stuff. You'll hear it's super mellow. It's like really. You'll hear it. You'll see. So somebody was calling us Wyndham Hillbilly, which I thought was pretty
The
hilarious.
hillbilly.
So
See, pardon me if I get this information incorrect, but Randy passed away, right? Biscuit.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
damn. Sorry to hear that.
yeah.
I mean,
It's back in the, I guess, '90s, mid '90s. I'm not sure. So yeah.
so I'm looking at the big boys here. I'm really bad with years. So how long were the big boys around for
Big
originally?
boys, we kind of, Chris and I flipped a coin to see who was going to play bass and guitar because we both played guitar. And basically, it started like most of these bands. It started to play one time. That's what Poison 13 was going to do. We're going to play one. Let's see if we can play at Raoul's one time, which was like the kind of punk club, kind of here.
Yeah.
And we were skating. We were out at Pflugerville skating and decided, let's try to do this. And Chris was probably about, I don't know, he's definitely younger than me. I had just gotten out of college. And I think Chris was either still a senior in high school or he had just gotten out of high school. And then Biscuit was 10 years older than me. So, and we decided, let's see if we can do this once. Okay, well, here, flip the coin. Okay, you play bass, I'll play guitar. Oh, let's get Biscuit to sing because he sings out here when we're skating sometimes. And we got this one friend of ours, Steve, to play drums that, skater too. It was all, I mean, that's how come we're kind of cited as either the first or one of the first. It's either us or us and JFA as being the first skate rock bands and stuff. And so that's how it kind of started. And that was probably 78, 79, somewhere in there. And it went to about 84, 85. And then, there wasn't really ever a break. Like Poison 13 started right after that, or right during that, because when Big Boys didn't really break up, we just took a break, and then we never got back together. And
Uh,
so,
hiatus.
yeah, and so the break was going to be, the idea was going to be that Chris was really into Metallica, and because they were passing around those cassettes at that point in time, and
Early.
and he was really into that and kind of more of that sort of stuff, which it's kind of like elevator music to me. I kind of can believe it. I don't hate it, but I just am not, it's just not my thing at
Not your
all.
cup of tea.
And so, uh, and Mike, the guy that was our rodeo, Mike Carroll, who was a really great friend, and he's passed too. He just passed probably 4 or 5 years ago. Uh,
Condolences.
he was really shy, but he really wanted to be in a band, and so that's how me and him started Poison 13. Was what that was, and so that lasted till about, that must have been about 84 to 86, maybe something like that. And I got out, and Chris kind of kept it going. And then Chris wanted them to move because Chris was in it. Like, he ended up, basically what happened was we were all going to do kind of a side band to play one time somewhere. And Chris never really got his metal thing together. And me and Mike, all of a sudden we had a show and we didn't have a bass player, and Mike lived with Chris. So it was like, oh, okay, well, this is going to be weird. People are going to think we're trying to, kick out Biscuit and be the new big boys. And fuck it, kind of thing. And Chris was the bass player. So when I got out, Chris kept it going, but really wanted them to move to Hollywood because that's a lot of stuff was going on there that was kind of more that style of music at the time. And, like the Joneses and trying to think Tex and the Horseheads and bands like that. And none of them wanted to move. So Chris went ahead and moved on his own. And that's how Junkyard started, because Chris started up Junkyard up there. And Junkyard had Brian Baker and like a bunch of different people that from old punk bands and stuff, and just total Guns N' Roses kind of sounding band. And I was in Bad Mother Goose, and Bad Mother Goose was, gotten pretty big.
That's
and
funky shit right there.
touring all the time and stuff. And those guys asked me back in to Poison 13. So that incarnation of Poison 13 was the third one and the last one. And that's what the first Monkey Wrench record is that the music I wrote for that band. And so that went to, Bad Mother Goose went till 90. And that band, I was in that band till the end of Bad Mother Goose, and then I flew literally right then to Seattle and did the Monkey Wrench thing, and then I was home. And then, like I say, probably 91, maybe something like that. It's when Jack of Fire started up, and then Here We Go Again, and it just kind of kept. So,
Been a very busy man. Yeah, I love that freestyle rap in the Bad Mother Goose. On that.
Alan's great. Yeah, there's
oh
a really.
My god, that shit just.
Well, you should listen if you like that. You should listen to. I think you can get it on Google if you Google it up. There's a Lord High Fixer song called Smile. And you should listen to that because that's the most amazing. Like, basically what happened was Mike. It's kind of a long Tim story, but Mike was really shy. But Mike knew his shit, and he knew all kinds of music, and he knew all kinds of stuff and everything. And he really, really wanted to be in a band, and that's how Poison 13 started up. And then, but basically, he had to get really, really drunk before he could get up and sing because he was so shy, kind of thing. But when he was up singing, I mean, to this day, everybody's like Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, if you would have met him and then saw him singing, it's completely two different people. And he's freaking amazing. He was Mark Arm's favorite singer for the longest time. He had that voice like Brian Brannon, kind of thing or John Brannon from Negative Approach, kind of had that sort of thing going. And just like, I mean, you can hear him on the song and stuff. And like, it just unbelievably fucking amazing. But basically, when I got out and Bad Mother Goose was going, we were touring so much because we ended up having we had Jack Nicholson's lawyer. We had all these bidding wars going on over us because they thought we were going to be Sly and the Family Stone for the 90s. But they didn't know what to do with us because it was black and white up there singing. And the music was straight up BET, black, funk sounding music, but we looked like, crazy people up there. So it just, that people could not, they just wouldn't take the chance, because we weren't the Chili Peppers. We weren't it's like we weren't Beastie Boys. We were this mix of people singing about this works, like there was men, women, black, white.
Yeah, I've read all that.
This is, and oh, you got a problem with this? Well, are you racist? Is that what the problem is? Like, what's going on? Kind of. I mean, it was just a lot of that. I'm super proud of that band. I mean, there was like a lot of really cool stuff, and the but during that period of time, Mike just disappeared, and so Mike could have easily been dead. Nobody knew where he was. We didn't know what was going on. The alcohol had really gotten the best of him, and he didn't ever shoot up or anything like that, but he definitely was probably taking speed and stuff. And so right after the monkey wrench thing happened, I was a little bit leery because the only tape that we had of all these songs was a live tape from a place called Liberty Lunch, and nobody could understand what Mike was singing. And Mike had really great words. He wrote really, really great stuff, and so a lot of the song. There was a couple of songs that I'd written the words to and stuff, but a lot of them it was Mike had written the words, and it was like, well, Mark's going to have to make up new words, and I just thought, I don't know, that's kind of weird. I don't want to. But then we realized that, well, if Sub Pop will put on there about Mike Carroll and stuff, maybe people will look up the old stuff and see all the, great lyrics he wrote and stuff like that. So we went ahead and did it. And so it was probably maybe a year after that thing came out, Mike called. And he was basically, what had happened was he had gone back to live with his parents in Dallas, and he got completely cleaned up. And he, it was just, I mean, I was crying, Beth was crying. I mean, it was just like, oh my God, it was like some, your extended family member, best friend, person you really loved that you thought you had lost is back, kind of thing. You get a chance, kind of deal. And and when he came to visit, he's telling me at the time that he really thought he'd been thinking about doing another band, which I was completely shocked and amazed. And he wanted to call it Lord High Fixers, because Lord High Fixers was a term for, it was a hacker term. It's like, if you're on the internet and you can't find the answer, then you go to the Lord High Fixer. And if the Lord High Fixer can't help you, then too bad, sorry. Kind of type thing. It's like, it's a hacker term, and asked me if I wanted to help, and I was just like, oh my God, kind of thing. And so that's how that band started. So that band we were all older. There was people that were in the band that's really great called Sugar Shack that you should look up. That's a really great. I
definitely will.
And Andy and them were really great, and just. And we all did it because it was it's like, oh my God, Mike, it's like, this is amazing. He's back. And in hindsight, I didn't really realize it at the time, but Jack of Fire was kind of going still right at that point. And I told Mike at the time, I said, well, if you want to do some covers that we never did in Poison 13, we'll do it in Jack of Fire, and you can kind of at least, get back into it and stuff like that. And if you ever want to get up and sing, you can get up with us. We hardly ever play, but you can get up and play. He picked the New Year's Eve show. And like I'm saying, in hindsight, now I realize, like, he wanted to prove to himself. He knew that he had more to say. He wanted to prove to himself that he could do it and be sober. And he picked the frickin' night where it's the most drunk, ridiculous night ever. He picks to do. I mean, it's pretty fucking amazing, and really, I'm honored and humbled that I was even part of this kind of thing. And it was great because he came out. Jack of Fire was playing. There's a whole bunch of people there to see Mike because they knew Mike was going to get up and sing some songs. And he walks out. People are all just yelling and hollering. He grabs the microphone stand and kind of thing, and then slams it to the floor to sing, and he breaks the microphone stand in half. I mean, it was like, oh my God, like, this is, and people went freaking nuts kind of thing. And so when that band got going, Lord High Fixers, it was a whole bunch of different things kind of came to I don't know. I think I said this to you before when we were writing and stuff. It's that thing of where you're reading in a book and you read a sentence and you like, oh, that's how you say that, because it's a bunch of stuff that you felt, but you never put it into words. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
This band was that, because all of a sudden it was like, man, we get a second chance. We thought he was gone. We get to do, man, that's life. Like, you better hug and celebrate everybody around here, because this could be the last time we're up here getting to do this. This could be the last time me and you are sitting here talking on this podcast. So you better like celebrate the time that's happening right now. And just all of that stuff. And as corny as it is, it's the truth.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's true.
Like,
You're not
so,
promised tomorrow.
so everybody that was in that band and everybody that was close to that band changed. We all, like, it just really changed us all. And the way we were looking at stuff, how we, like, shows, we either made it through the show or we didn't make it through the show. And we weren't trying to be the Who, and we weren't trying to be Trail of the Dead or anything, but yeah, instruments would fly. People would be, I would just jump out and hug somebody. It's just, because once you cross that line of being like a band as opposed to who fucking cares, bands, who cares? This is a celebration. This is a celebration of life and music, and this is maybe the last time I get to be up here with you guys. Let's go, kind of type thing. So if the bass player does something that I'm just like, oh my god, that's great, run over there, give him a hug, kind of thing. It's just like, I don't know how to explain it other than that. It's
Yeah,
like
I get what you mean.
guitars would fly out into the high, like the when Monkey Wrench got back to, this is a good example of it. When Monkey Wrench got back together 10 years later, and by when Monkey Wrench first played band, that's what kind of thing. But now 10 years later, I'd come through Lord High Fixers, and you can't go back. Once you've stepped across that line, you can't go back. And so my friends, the makers, that are a really great band, you should check out.
I definitely will.
Like laughing and just going, man, Tim, because once again, our shows, Lord High Fixer shows, were just like, it was just, you had to be really aware or you could easily get hurt. Like flying, just all kinds of shit was going on the whole time, and like I say, we either made it through the set or we didn't make it, and that was it, kind of thing.
Exactly.
So they were all laughing, going, man, Tim, you're either going to look like a complete idiot up there, because the first time we played again was Garage Shock. It's when we played, and or you're going to make them look really old, kind of deal. And like literally the first song, I was already sliding across the stage because the people were throwing beer and stuff, knocked all the amps behind me over onto the floor behind, and just here we go, it's live, whatever, kind of thing. So celebrate. And when Monkey Wrench, we played we played with Pearl Jam at what's the big soccer place in England? Shit. Anyway,
I don't follow it. Sorry.
But the big huge stadium kind of thing. The first thing I did was jumped off that stage and handed my guitar to the first person in the crowd, and was just like, "You're at Wembley, play." This is fucking amazing. Here, you be part of it. Kind of. So that, what I'm trying to say, that's
what it's about.
Yeah, that's it. It's not band, man, so-and-so's out there, I want to make sure they know I can play the guitar. Man, fuck that. Who cares? It's like, I can play the guitar. I'm not worried what you think, kind of. And it's not being an asshole. It's just celebrate. It's like, oh my God, you may never do this again. You better. And it applies to everything. So that's basically it. So that big long thing is to tell you, listen to Smile, because Alvin, who did the freestyle rap stuff that you really liked,
that shit was so impressive.
He got caught up in Lord High Fixers, and he wanted to be part of he wanted to be on one of the songs. And so I told Alvin, I said, well, okay. And what I did was I'd done this rap record with a friend. I'd put together a whole bunch of stuff. So I got that out, and we put it on we ran it through the speakers out into the studio, so it sounded more like it was live and you were at a club. And Alvin just had conga drums, and he literally had maybe two sentences, definitely one sentence written on a piece of paper, and went out there. And I thought, I think I told you before to listen to those last two Lord High Fixer records because they're just kind of nonstop and they just kind of, everything kind of flows into each other and there's little snippets of stuff. And so I thought this was going to be just like a snippet thing, right? The tape that he was going off of basically was about 7 something minutes long, and then that was the end of the tape kind of deal, right? So it's getting to the end and he's still going and he's just saying the most amazing stuff you've ever heard in your life, and it'll totally put all this in perspective for you when you hear it. And you have to listen to it a couple of times because the stuff he says between things is really great too. And he, like, literally the guy, the engineer guy, which is another Mike, was looking at me like going, "What do you want to do? What do you want to do?" Because the tape was about to end and he was gone, and he, Alvin literally looks at me. He says something like, "I thought you would," or something like that, and then turns and looks over at me like in the engineer, whatever that room's called.
Yeah.
Just said, "I thought you would," and grins, and the tape goes and ends, and I'm just going, "Oh my fuck!" And I went out there and gave him a hug, and he was just like, "You want me to do it again?" I was going, "No!" Like, "Oh my god!" Like, how? Like, that's amazing. That it literally you ended right when this tape ends. So the whole thing, you should just hear it. It's really, really, really great. So,
I will definitely listen to that. Yeah, I live in the city of Illinois, and weed's legal here. Just putting it out there for people. But I was in my garage adjusting my motorized bicycle, and because I'm a Door Dasher, and I turned that album up, the Bad Mother Goose album up real loud, which is funky, and then it got to that freestyle where he's drumming like, make it faster. Then I'm just standing there. I stopped what I was doing. I was like, holy shit, that's a freestyle?
Yeah,
no, I was just bopping to that.
And now if you look him up, his name is Alvin Dedeaux, and if you look him up, he's a fly fisher.
That's awesome.
He has kind of like, he does a lot of fly fishing stuff. He's got his own little kind of channel and all that kind of stuff. So he's doing great.
I'm gonna have to reach out to him for an interview.
Yeah.
Damn, he's a fantastic rapper, but the Bad Mother Goose and Brother Grimm, right? That's the rest of it.
Yeah.
That's some funky stuff, man.
There's a really great story in the '90s when all the garage stuff was going on. There was like a kid band from Houston that I can't remember what they were called and stuff.
Kid band?
And Andy, a kid band, like really younger kids. And Andy went over to their house. There was some kind of party going on or something, and Andy, that was in Sugar Shack and all that stuff, when it was over there at the house, and they had that Big Boys poster up where we're sitting in an empty swimming pool, and it's like, we're all kind of sitting, but I've got my head down. I don't remember if my head's in my hands or like what, but my head's kind of down, and supposedly the kid had drawn a bubble over my head that said, "Bad Mother Goose, what was I thinking?" kind of thing. And I thought, that's fucking great.
Do you still have anything from those bands, from Highland Fixers?
I've got, one of each thing that I've kept, kind of deal, but I don't have any doubles or anything like that at all anymore. So,
say if you had a poster or something, I'd totally buy something, especially from Bad Mother Goose and Lord High Fixers, because of all that, which I haven't heard the rest of it. So, like I said, this statement can very well change as time goes on, as I hear more. But Big Boys, High Lord Fixers, and Bad Mother Goose, A+, and also I love Monkey Wrench too. Those are probably my favorite 4 projects so far.
Yeah. Well, you should listen to. There's also Total Sound Group.
Them
happened right after. You'd probably like that a lot too, because that's got Hammond organ in it, and we're totally still doing Lord High Fixer types, because it's me and Mike, and then it was like a bunch of kind of like a lot of younger kind of guys that were in it, and we didn't really want to change them, and we didn't, what I'm trying to say, like, we didn't want to make them do what we were doing.
You didn't want to accidentally influence them, and
it's pretty great, because you've got like a crew of people that kind of came more from Nation Ulysses and bands like that, and then you've got me and Mike who were older that came from this other stuff, but it's a mix of it. It's good. It's probably I bet that was probably Mike's favorite band was now or with the Total Sound Group. So
It's got a very long name.
yeah,
um,
well, it's Total Sound Group Direct Action Committee is what the name.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
T-
sampled a bit of that last night and this
yeah,
morning.
yeah.
I was gonna ask him. I don't know if you ever worked with Keith Morris or not of Circle Jerks, Black Flag, and Off, but have you ever heard his side group called Midget Handjob?
Yeah. I saw them. They were great.
Oh, that's awesome!
They did a song that was really great where the drummer, like, he's sitting back in his chair and he's got like it must have been a hubcap or something that's in his lap and a chain, and he's just dropping the chain for the rhythm into the hubcap
That's
and stuff. It was
awesome.
really really cool, and it was kind of before I really got into Hans Bennick and things like that. Before I really saw the free jazz stuff of drummers doing things like that. So it really kind of made an impression with me of like, man, that's cool. That's a cool sound. So
Yeah, when I discovered it, because I interviewed Keith back in I think April or March, something like that. But I had discovered Midget Handjob and Bug Lampus, another short one he was in, but Midget Handjob before I interviewed him, and I looked into it, and and I told him this too. I was like, that is a band that I would never have expected to come from Keith Morris.
yeah, but that's the thing. It's like it's like
That's
that,
awesome.
yeah, no, it's like when you sent me the thing of the noise stuff, I just thought, whoa, I wasn't expecting that at all, and this is great, kind of deal. But that's my problem. That's your problem. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
I do exactly what I don't like people doing. I do put people in boxes sometimes, kind of thing, or I do kind of
we're
think
kind
that
of programmed to
like
do
this, or
that.
like like somebody that's really full tilt and just to just old school hardcore. That's it. And will write to me and say, "Man, the old time, up around the sun is great." And my first reaction is like, "You like that?" Kind of thing. But then it's like, "Oh, wait a minute, I like that, and I like old hardcore. So why would I? Why, of course, like it doesn't. It makes sense. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I,
Yeah,
and I gotta admit, it's thanks to the Cretan from the Daigle Abortions, Keith, and a couple others, including you yourself, because you listened to my album, right?
yeah,
The more people, because I'm not gonna lie, I started on it in 2013. I ended it a couple months ago because it took 7 years for me to make sure it's right to my own senses. But originally, I was like, no one's gonna like this, especially no one in the punk world, and I started sharing it and getting relatively either positive feedback or holy shit, what is this? This is
yeah,
unlike
yeah.
anything I've heard before, man. But
Yeah.
no one hates it, and I was like, okay. So nobody thinks it's garbage. Okay, that's good. It kind of boosted my non-existent confidence up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and even if they did think it was garbage, their problem. It's like they're
Yeah,
not there yet. It's the same thing with free jazz. You can't explain it to somebody. You just have to, hopefully at some point they're going to realize that all sound is valid. It's not just some really hot guitar lick or something like that. No, somebody hitting on a table is just as valid as anybody playing Hendrix or something. I mean, it's like it's wide open. I guess is what I'm trying to
yeah.
say. So
I know too many musicians though that, because a bad what do you want to call it? I'm gonna say stereotype because that's easy. No, a bad
yeah,
misconception of noise music is, oh, it's just noise. Anyone can do it. There's no talent in that. It's just you need to learn the guitar, learn the chords, and learn how to play it. It's like try making some noise music that actually with some soul. It's more than that. And for someone
oh
who
yeah,
just hates the music, oh, it's just noise.
yeah,
It's hard
yeah,
to get through to those people, which they can love what they want, but I've been told that so many times. Like, that's not music, that's just noise. Learn
yeah.
how to play an instrument, loser.
And when the whole kind of label of noise bands and all that stuff started out with Ice to Nubile and bands like that and kind of thing, we were joking around thinking we were going to start a suburban noise band.
That's
And the suburban noise band would be like lawnmowers and leaf blowers, and then
awesome!
you'd have the mom yelling, "Get in the house! Come in to dinner! Get in the house!" And then you'd have somebody playing like a really bad version of Smoke on the Water on the bass, just we thought that'd be really great. The Suburban Noise Band. So
Have you heard of the Happy Flowers?
I've heard that name. I can't really remember. I can't place what
What
the
you
music was,
what
but
you what you just explained? That's practically them. That's practically them. The
oh, that's cool.
this
Yeah,
smashing the guitar, just making sure it keeps going, and like there's if you want to call it songs. Like, there's
yeah,
a track by them where it's, hey man, I've got a fucking scab on my knee and I really want to just pull it off.
yeah,
And there's like loud screaming guitars. I don't know, man, it hurts too much to pull it off. Oh shit, there's
yeah.
bleeding all over the place. They're the Happy Flowers are fucking hilarious, and it's just
I
total
definitely,
noise chaos.
I definitely have heard that name, so I definitely know. And I think I even had a record at one point, but I just can't remember what, like, until you're talking about it. So, but
Yeah,
yeah, that's
I have.
once again their problems, not ours. So so you just hope sometime that they're going to open up and kind of realize, So
Well, well, hell, to quote John Lennon himself once, here's our newest track, or by some record, it's the newest electronic noise, and he was referring to the Beatles song "Help."
yeah, yeah,
Back then, that was just, oh, it's so loud, it's so noisy.
yeah,
The
yeah,
Beatles.
yeah. Yeah. The reason I told you about the Chicago Art Ensemble was because there's pieces in there that are kind of reminding me of some of where things are talking and stuff. You
Oh
just need
yeah,
to listen to them, but it wasn't like it was exactly like it by any means, but it just kind of seemed like the same sort of idea a little bit. So, you know.
Fakeality when I started it, because originally it was going. And by the way, you're the first person I've ever really told this to, so no one's asked. But
Yeah,
I started it in 2013. Originally, it was supposed to be out in 2016, and I technically did release a botched version of it called the Current Division of Fakeality as an EP. It has the cassette's got 5 songs, and the internet version's got 4 songs because
yeah,
I lost the cassettes, and there's a lost song out there that someone's got in a box somewhere in their closet, and I don't even have access to it, so that's fun. But
yeah,
anyway,
yeah,
yeah, I started that in 2013, and I ended it this year. It's pretty much my mind in music form.
yeah.
That's the best way I can explain that.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's cool though. That's good. So,
And I can't play a single instrument right if I had a gun to my head.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean, that's once again, all sound is valid. So you're playing yourself.
Yep.
So that's an instrument. So,
Which did you listen to the entire thing or just part of it?
oh no, I listened to it all. I had it on while I was doing something, so it was cool. That's what made me think there was one point where I'm trying to remember now, but there was just like kind of talking, and it just reminded me of
Huh.
something from the Chicago Art Ensemble thing, and so that's why I wrote to you and said that. So, but no, I listened to the whole thing. So,
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
yeah, no, I mean,
I get a little nervous when I send it out to people because I've never actually had someone say this is utter trash. I've never had someone say that. I've had people say, not really my thing, but hey, nice work though.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I thought it was cool. So,
Thank you. I really
I mean,
appreciate
the
that.
funny thing about that stuff is like, people say this all the time. It's like you can get all kinds of people saying, man, this is great. This is great. And you've got like, say, 60 people saying this is great. And in that 60 people, there's one person that says this sucks kind of thing. And then all of a sudden, that's all you dwell on. You know what
Yep.
I'm saying? Like instead of being like, what the hell? That's one person out of fucking 60. Like, what the hell? Like, who cares? It's one person's opinion. Like, whatever. So,
Humans prefer negative attention over
well,
positive attention.
yeah, there's also a really great. I tell art teachers this all the time when I meet somebody that's teaching art and stuff. Is that one of the classes that we had when I went to because I went to arts. I went to University of Texas to do art because I basically I didn't really know what I was going to do when I got out of high school, but I came from the generation that basically you go to college, kind of thing. And both my parents were teachers, and my brothers were coaches, and on and on and on. So, I'm going to go to school, but I didn't really know what. And the UT didn't really have guitar in the music department, and I knew that I didn't really want to do drama. And I thought, well, I'll draw all the time. I'll do art, kind of type thing. So I went to art school, And basically, the only class that stuck with me that I still think was so great was there was an assignment called the Ugly Project.
Ugly
And basically,
project.
what you were supposed to do was you were supposed to work on this thing for the week or whatever, how long, and bring in the ugliest thing that you could possibly do, kind of type thing, right? And the idea, you didn't know it at the time, but the lesson was that no matter how bad you think something is, somebody in that room is going to be going, well, that's kind of kicking. I like that, kind of thing. So it was showing you it's just one person's opinion. I don't care who it is. It's one person's opinion, kind of thing. And as long as you're happy with it, that's really all that
That's why
matters.
it took 7 years.
And that's not really being selfish. That's just a fact. It's like you're the one that's going to have to answer to this years later. So either
Yep.
you're going to be like, yeah, or you're going to be, yeah, I did that, but kind of thing. So you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I always feel like I won because there was, first of all, there was a really good friend of mine that did, I don't know what the equivalent would be where you are, but like in Texas, it's blue bonnets, like blue bonnet paintings, like the oil paintings that you see at your parents' house and they're hanging behind the couch. And there's just these really nice scenes
Yeah.
of bluebonnet flowers. And I said, one of my friends did that and did it to a T. And all the sorority girls in the class were just like, I don't get it. This is great. This is wonderful, kind of thing. And his mom was just like, that's my boy. That's my son, kind of thing. It's like her favorite thing she'd ever done. But that was his, he's making a statement. This is ugly, kind of thing. This is not, I don't know. It's great. But mine, we lived in a house that there were 6 houses and one driveway that went into it. And it was kind of like a loft, it's hard to explain it. And there was just all these crazy people lived in these houses. So and this is way before punk rock and stuff. And I painted a board, like just two, just super clashing colors, like just day glow pink and day glow green or I don't know why, just, really clashing kind of. And then I put it outside. And I told everybody in the houses, like, okay, dump whatever you want to on this thing, kind of deal. And so, people would dump their breakfast, the cat box, like all kinds of shit was getting dumped on this thing. And then it rained and just on and on. Like it was just, completely horrible, just garbage looking thing. And then because of what we've kind of been talking about, and even back then, to me, there was more. You've got 5 senses, not just look. You've got smell. You've got taste. So I bought the cheapest bottle of perfume I could get, and the morning that I was supposed to take it into class, it didn't necessarily smell, but what I did was like, I went outside, I turned it upside down, whatever stuck, whatever didn't. And then I just doused it with this perfume. Like the whole thing was just, covered, like the whole bottle. And I remember coming down the hall with it and the teacher coming out into the hall and going, oh no, you are not bringing that in here. Kind of thing. And I thought, all right, I won. This is like, I didn't even get to bring it in the.
That's awesome.
And I mean that's the gist of all of that is whatever, it's like, if you don't like it, that's fine. Whatever, kind of thing. So
Your is that your cat in the background there?
so there's definitely cats in this house. So that's when
That's
I'm
awesome.
sitting on the lap right now. So
What's the if you don't mind me asking, what's the Dogtown thing behind you?
what's the what?
The Dogtown poster behind you?
Oh, that's from the documentary when that came out.
Documentary.
Yeah, you should. If you had never seen that, you should watch that. You know what Dogtown is, right?
Negative.
Okay, well then you're not a skater, right?
Well, I rollerblade, but I suck terribly at skateboarding.
Yeah,
I like watching people skateboard. The tricks are super cool, but I suck at it so bad that I'm not ashamed to admit it.
yeah. I mean, as long as you're smiling and having fun, that's all it is. But the Dogtown thing is you should just watch the documentary. You'll see.
I will
And
definitely do that.
basically back and because we were skating before any of this punk rock stuff, and so that was all of these things were kind of really at that point in time, they weren't that big. Like the hardcore stuff, all skating, all this stuff back in the day, like early '70s, late, kind of, especially late '70s. It's just kind of communities of people, and we would all stay at each other's houses and all. It's just like hardcore. All those bands. Yeah, I know Keith. Keith stayed at our house. It's like we know all these people because they. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People think it was such a big, like there wasn't tour buses, there wasn't any of that stupid shit. It was just people driving in their vans and staying and playing. You would set up the show and all that. So, skating wise, there was a group of people in Santa Monica. In Santa Monica, they called it Dogtown. And so you had Tony Alva and Jay Adams and Stacy Peralta, and just a lot of those characters were all on the original Dogtown team. And there was a guy that's Stesic, Stecyk, and he's an artist and a writer, and he's been around a long time. He wrote these stories that were just really amazing about, like people see this concrete like this, but it's kids that kind of showed everybody that concrete has other, possibilities as opposed to just being a building or whatever. Just things like, just really great writing and kind of crazy opening up your head kind of type stuff. And there was a whole bunch of articles that he wrote about Dogtown and this whole group of guys. And so it's kind of, I don't know, if you skate, you know exactly. And so when this documentary finally came out about Dogtown, like, I don't know how many years, 20 years later or whatever, it was kind of a big deal for that whole crowd. And I actually think it might have even won some awards. It's done really well. You should watch it. You'll see it's good.
I can't think of the name of the movie, but there's another skate movie that I watched it once. It took place back in the 80s, but it's the legend of something. There's a half pike in the middle of a desert. I think
No.
I know that's.
There's been a movie. There's been a Dogtown movie too, but you want to watch the Dogtown documentary, so.
Because that sounds familiar to me, now that I'm listening.
Well, it was kind of a big deal back when it came out. There was all stuff all over the internet about it and all that. It's the same thing like the Vivian Maier one that you should watch too. There was kind of, when it came out, it was all over the internet and stuff. And it's Maier is how you spell her name, Vivian Maier.
Vivian Maier.
Yeah, it's really, really great.
Yeah,
And the funny thing about the Dogtown one was that this is definitely, I don't know, I'm horrible with dates, so I don't know.
Lords of Dogtown.
Early 2000s or something. I think it's just called Dogtown. Let me look and see what. Dogtown and the Z Boys is, and it was directed by Stacy Peralta. So if you look up that, you'll see. But the funny thing is when that thing came out, like all of a sudden I started getting phone calls from, people that I used to skate with back in the 70s and stuff that I hadn't talked to in years, like the 20 years or so. And, they'd call up and be like, let's go skate. I'm like, oh, well, who is this? Like, what? Huh? Kind of, and it was just because they watched that thing and this, everybody started back up again, like all these old guys. So it's pretty funny.
Yeah, I think the film I watched was The Lords of Dogtown.
Yeah, that's the movie.
Okay.
But you want to watch the doc.
I will do that.
Yeah, because the movie's like the Hollywood kind of whatever version. You just need to really watch the real story. So,
I will definitely do that.
And we're friends with a lot of those guys too and stuff now. Just because of Big Boys and all that. So
lovely. Yeah, I'll definitely get around to watching that movie. I think I've been wanting to skateboard because I used to when I was younger. I'm terrible at balance. Same reason why I don't surf. Rollerblading for me is just easier to keep the balance even at fast speeds. But I love skateboarding tricks. I love watching others skateboard. I wish I could do it myself, but I guess they say practice makes perfect.
Yeah. Well, it's just. But the thing is not. That's what people tell you when you're trying to learn an instrument or just any of this stuff. Don't say practice. Just say you're going to go ride. Just say you're going to go play the guitar or whatever. Because as soon as you say practice, it turns it into a whole different thing.
Oh, yeah, uniform thing.
It's not you just having fun. It's just something you want to do. So yeah.
I'll definitely do that. I really want to get into that. I also want
Yeah.
to learn how to ice skate, but that's kind of hard to do around. Well, I don't know. It's winter, so I might find somewhere to do that. I've never actually ice skated before.
And I actually went when I was kind of back in, I guess like early, I don't know, I guess early, well, I guess it was like mid 70s or something. We were in Iowa and I ice skated on a pond out there for the first time and tried to do, I was doing kind of okay because I grew up surfing and stuff and I kind of was doing fine. But then I tried to do that crazy thing of like going real fast and then turning to where you spray everybody with the ice.
Oh God! Didn't
Just
then?
really hated after that. So, but it was kind of cool to be able to say you skated on a pond. You know, that was kind of neat.
Yeah.
So,
You said Iowa. Have you ever played in either the Quad Cities or back in Kansas at all? At Lawrence at the outhouse?
we definitely played Kansas. Big boys did and stuff, and but we didn't ever really play Iowa. We played we played Madison, Wisconsin, and Chicago and that kind of area, and but we didn't go to Iowa. And,
Uh,
and
I
none
live
of
in
the
Moline, Illinois. It's the Quad Cities.
yeah, it's just my on my mom's side. Everybody from her family was all from Waterloo and Cedar Falls. So
I know
Cedar
Cedar
Rapids.
Rapids.
Yeah, Cedar Rapids. That's what it is. So, but now Ron from TSOL runs a really great school and kind of a big building that's kind of open for people to do shows, and he teaches kids music and just it's a really cool place. It's in Sioux City, Iowa, and
Really?
been wanting me to come up there and paint a mural for him. So I'm going to do that, when all this COVID stuff's over with. So,
I've actually interviewed almost every living member of TSOL. I've interviewed Jack in 2017. I know Joe Wood's not in the band anymore, but Anthony Tiny Bizio, I think I said his name right. Greg Keene, Antonio,
yeah.
and I've spoken also Chip Hanna. I've spoken with Ron and Mike, but no interview yet. Yeah, TSOL's one of my favorites.
Yeah, Ron's great. He's really good. He's a good guy. So if you do talk to him, tell him I said hello
Oh,
and
I
that yes,
definitely will.
tell him say yes, I'm going to come do the mural. So
And I was gonna say real quickly, months ago, which I know I mentioned this to you when I interviewed Gary Floyd of the Dicks. Yeah,
yeah.
he had a lot of very positive things to say about you and the big boys.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I know he's great. He's definitely one of the best singers ever for uh, that whole period. So
I've got the split between the big boys and the Dicks. I think I showed you the
oh yeah.
picture of it.
Well, the
Yeah,
funny thing about that and Complete Control is written about that record, that Big Boy song, Complete Control. I wrote that all about what went down because they told us that we were going to have our say and we'd get to pick songs and all that kind of stuff. But the guy putting the thing together, and the Dick side is great, and our side's good too, but it's like basically he decided that he wanted the Dick side to be the X side, and we were the R side or whatever kind of parent. I don't know what that's called, but PG side. We were the PG side, and Dicks were supposed to be the X side. Now we didn't know any of this, and he picked the songs, so that's why on our side it's not some of the crazier, harder things we were doing aren't on there, and then when that record starts, you hear a Biscuit saying "fuck authority, let's play." And the thing is the first song was supposed to be Authority, but that's not on there, like because it's I can't remember. It's been so long since I've looked or heard any of that stuff, but that's if you look at it, you'll see. And but that's what was going on was the guy we didn't get to have any kind of say at all in that thing.
I hate
And
it when labels do that.
so then that's why Where's My Towel got put out pretty quick after. And because there was a band called the Judies from Houston that were really, really fucking great. And they were kind of more like B-52s kind of sounding and pretty young kids.
Oh
And
yeah.
they were really, really great songs and stuff. And David knew that we weren't really happy. And so he took us into the studio, and that's when we did Where's My Towel. So, and Light in the Attic reissued all of that stuff. But anyway, that Complete Control, that song I wrote completely about, like all of our songs are written about stuff, like things that happened or whatever. So,
Yeah, personal reflections and all that.
yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah, I can't remember if it was either that 7-inch or Lullabies, but either or, that was how I got into the Big Boys.
Yeah. Well,
I can't remember if I got the Lullabies album first. It's been it's been about 10 or 15 years since I've started listening to the Big Boys. But yeah, I
yeah.
love your music, man. And is there anything else you wanted to add to this?
No, just do something, do some kind of self-expression. Like definitely, if you're not doing some sort of your own self-expression, you're missing out. You're really missing. So
And
I don't know.
again, thank you so much for reconsidering. Well,
Oh,
or
yeah. No, it's fine. So it's
yeah, I felt a little awkward for asking again, but I was like, well, I've actually looked more into his stuff, and I'm not just gonna ask the generic questions about the big boys that I could easily find on Wikipedia. I really searched more into your other bands, and I was like, holy shit, this guy's got a lot of good stuff on his
I mean,
musical resume.
I'm completely appreciate that and stuff because it's the weirdest thing to me, and that's not why. I mean, I was honestly saying with you, like I literally had just got finished doing this with somebody like 2 days before, and
Oh,
that's
I
why
believe it. I've had a lot of musicians say,
it's
maybe a few months from now. I've been doing this a few times in the last
yeah.
month.
But I mean, but what it's two things. Number one, Beth was saying this last night, like she was, we both all through all of this stuff. I always worked at the UT libraries and stuff. But Beth was a librarian, like she got her degree and stuff and everything. And she was talking yesterday. We were talking about the idea that, you get asked the same questions, but the person, so you get tired of the same question. But the trouble is the person asking you, it's the first time they've ever heard it. It's the first time they've ever heard that answer kind of type thing, so it kind of makes you realize, oh yeah, kind of deal. But I think what gets me a lot of times about this is that a lot of times people are so busy and so locked into the past that they're going to miss all what's going on right now around them. They're going to totally, 20 years from now when everybody's talking about right now, you missed it. And I'm not saying you, but I'm just
Yeah,
saying you missed it because you're so busy. Like, man, I didn't see Negative Approach. I didn't get to go to so and so. It's like that stuff is still going on.
yeah,
If
exactly.
you go to, nothing against clubs, but if you just go to a house party or a show that kids are putting on in some kind of, hall or whatever, that's exactly it. And they may not play Negative Approach, but that's pretty much exactly what it was like. And there it is. And you're not missing nothing, kind of thing. And so that, that sort of thing kind of, well, not even kind of, depresses me. And because I just keep thinking, man, if you're going to live the rest of your life thinking you missed it, that just sucks. I mean, that's just unbelievably depressing to me. And then the second thing is that once again, I'm super honored and humbled, and when anybody asks, and I'll definitely talk to anybody about stuff, but to literally get just your whole life is now that one high school touchdown pass that happened, and that's what we're going to keep going back to and talking about.
Yeah, I get that.
In reality, there's all kinds of stuff going on, there's kind of thing, and it's like, but no, you want to just keep going back to that one high school touchdown. It's just, that's, I don't know, it's just, to be reduced to that is, it's, I don't know, it's just a weird, I don't know. And people that know me really good know that's not coming from some asshole like, no, this is now. I want to talk about, that kind of, it's not that at all. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Uh,
So,
I
so
mean, huh?
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say I actually got kind of a lecture by Keith Morris of all people, when I interviewed him because I gotta say he isn't my first music punk rock interview. Like he's about my fifth or my sixth, but he's kind of my first one where. Like, I interviewed the Cliffhanger of the Freeze in 2019. I've interviewed, what's his name? John Percelli at Youth of Today, which they told me some stories. But, you know, Black Flag, Circle Jerks, that's kind of. If you barely even know punk rock, you've probably heard of one of those bands, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Versus, like, the Freeze, you kind of really have to know the music to know about Ting Records and all that. But I tried my hardest to come up with. That's how I know about Midget Handjob and Bucklamp, to come up with things that I couldn't just get out of the documentary American Hardcore, and I told him that, and expecting him to be like, "Well, you've done your homework," he instead says, "Well, there's also nothing wrong, Anarka, about asking questions that I've been asked 10 million times. Because what if Susie or Jimmy, they're watching this interview, have no fucking clue who I am?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
he was in a band called the Circle Jerks and Black Flag. Well, I'm gonna go listen to that."
yeah, yeah,
He's like, you gotta ask a combination of, you gotta do your homework, but also the generic stuff is fine. He's like, it might get you hung up on once or twice because some people just outright refuse it because they're so sick of it. But he's like, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I got lectured.
That's what yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. That's the same thing as like you've told the person at the counter where the bathroom is for the 16th time,
Yep.
but the person that's asking doesn't know where the bathroom is. You know, it's like, and so they're, you know, it's just they haven't heard it, you know, kind of deal. So I get it. I totally, you know, but at the same time, I mean, this was great, and I'm sure you do that. I listened to a little bit of the Sean one, and then I had to go do something and stuff, the Sean Stern one. But
Oh,
the
did you notice the error in the thumbnail on that? So I didn't know this, but I accidentally put a picture. I didn't know there were two youth brigades.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's DC one that Bert and them were in.
Whoops.
So there's actually probably even more, to be truthful and honest, because that was just like all the circle bands. You know, there's all kinds of circle
Yeah,
names for bands and stuff.
one of the
But
pictures I
yeah,
got
I mean,
wrong.
it's you know, there's nothing. It's that you know that's one thing that Beth and I don't even remember when. This was a while back, but we kind of realized. I think it was right around the time where everybody was really trying to find out about the history of hardcore and all that stuff going on. And I will tell you that the American Hardcore book and stuff, most everybody that I've talked to, like a lot of that stuff that's in there, I didn't say. And a lot of that stuff that's in there, the people that got interviewed, they didn't say that, you know, kind
Oh,
of
I've
thing.
never read the book. I just watched the
But
movie.
the thing is, it's his book. So he can write whatever he wants to do. You know, it's your podcast. You could literally take this and splice it all up, and it's not even at all what I said,
Yeah, that's
but
not gonna happen.
it's yours. You know, you get to do whatever you want to do. So you have to be a little bit, you know, you have to kind of stay open with all those things and not just take it for word. You
Yeah,
know,
this is gonna be uploaded directly as it is now.
oh no, I know, but I'm just saying in general. You know, like
But on that American hardcore thing, that like, so some of them quotes are wrong in that, or I've never read the book, just watched the movie.
I only read the Texas part, and then I pretty much didn't. But this is a crazy, but it's total me. It's like I had a friend that's really, really, and still does, is really into reading all those things, and you know, probably will listen to this and just you know all that kind of stuff and everything. But when that book came out, like I had read the DC one, I think I can't remember now, and like, and then that book came out, and I got it and I kind of thumbed through and I read the Texas section and just kind of thought, huh, that's weird. I didn't say that, but fine, what, you know, kind of thing, or what, you know, it wasn't. And there's just weird stuff in it that was like, no, that's not right at all, or whatever. But whatever, his book, kind of thing. And then Andy, the friend of mine I was telling you about from Sugar Shack, called me for something. I think we were going to go record or something. I don't remember what was going on. And I said something about getting the book. And he goes, "Oh yeah, I got it already, and I read it all." And I said, "Oh, that's cool. Well, what? Like, I read the Texas thing. What? How does Texas look compared to everybody else?" And he was laughing, going, "Oh man, like Texas looks great, you know, compared to everywhere. Like we're not this really hard, you know, fighting all the time and all this kind of just stupid, violent kind of bullshit stuff." And he goes, "But you know, like after I got finished reading it, I kind of thought, well, I kind of knew all this stuff." You know, kind of thing, like I didn't really need to read this kind of thing. And something clicked in my head, and it was just like, holy shit, like I don't have to read this. I was there. I know this
That's
stuff.
what Brett Grew at the
Like
Bad
somebody
Religion
else's
once
kind of thing.
said when asked
And
about that.
I haven't read a single one of those things since. Like I just am not that interested at all
Yeah,
anymore. You know, it's one. And once again, that's not being, you know, like, you know, thinking that I'm somebody or whatever. It's just that I don't need to hear somebody else's opinion about something that I was at. You know, it's like
yeah,
it's not, it's neither here nor there to me. I don't really, you know, unless it's like a really close friend that I think it's pretty funny just to hear their version of it or something. But you know, I'm trying to say, like, it's
yeah.
not something I'm that super interested in. So I mean, since then, the only two music books I've ever really read is I read Space is a Place, the Sun Ra thing that's really great, and I read the Roland Kirk one is really, really great. That's a really good biography too. So
Yeah, I gotta admit, so American Hardcore, since I'm only 27 years old, that came out in 2005 or 6, and that was kind of my holy Bible of learning about hardcore punk, because I knew about it before then, but I didn't. That was the first time I was like, holy shit, so these are all the people behind the band, and these are the stories that happened? Wow, this music is really different than everything else. And
yeah,
then the other F word, Punk's Not Dead, Punk Attitude, all them documentaries.
yeah,
I watched a lot of those, and I have to say, from I mean, I haven't interviewed everyone that took place in them, but I've interviewed many people, and they definitely did exaggerate things or under. What's it called when you don't tell the whole truth, but you just tell a little bit of it?
yeah. I know what you're talking about, but I don't know the name of the term. So
But
yeah,
yeah, they pretty much painted the punk rock scene, not just in the U.S. but in the U.K., out to be more TV ready than it actually was to a degree. I mean, I wasn't there, so I can't really say that. But from
I
what,
mean the cool thing to me about the whole '80s period, like the hardcore stuff, is that when MTV did their, which I didn't watch, but I just people told me, and I know, like when they did their history of rock music or whatever, it goes all the way to the Sex Pistols and punk rock, and then Nirvana kind of things.
what?
So they totally skipped the whole period of like hardcore and stuff of what the people you're talking
I
to and
think I
everything.
actually remembered
And
this.
I actually thought that's really, really cool because they couldn't put a label on it. They couldn't put a handle, because every little city had a totally different scene and every state had a completely different kind of scene and look and the way they danced and all this kind of stuff. And so,
Let's see it,
because
fucking Poco.
but so they couldn't put it in a little package. They couldn't put it in a neat package so that they just don't talk about it. And I thought, okay, yeah, they couldn't make it safe. They could not make this safe. This is great, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I thought it was cool. But yeah,
I told the last person I talked to was Adam Seagal of the Faction. I was
yeah,
telling him this that ever since I was little in the 2000s, I'd be listening to Bad Religion or Dead Kennedys or some punk band from back then in the 80s, and either family, school, or someone would be like, "Are you kids in your music today?" And I'm like, "Bro, this is like from the 80s." And like, "No, it's
yeah,
not. Def Leppard's from the 80s." Like, no, yeah, Def Leppard might be from the 80s, but this was also from back then, and
yeah, yeah.
I'd have
Well,
to
that's
show
the thing is like
them.
people don't really understand or realize that nobody was interested in any of this stuff back then, period. It's like there wasn't, you didn't put out records because they were going to get played on the radio and all this stuff. No, none of that was going to happen. Nobody was writing about it. Nobody, people did this stuff because it was coming straight from their heart and everything. And it just was a whole different thing. And then probably 84, 85, somewhere around there, it kind of evolved into what college rock and all that kind of stuff, and it kind of went back to being shows. You went there to go be entertained as opposed to being just part of this big community kind of thing. So
Yep. I I will say that since 2013, I've definitely hell, I've got a set. Did I tell you about my 7-inch collection that I have?
no, what?
So I mostly collect cassette tapes now because I'm married in the Philippines and I travel a lot, and 12-inch records are hard to fuck with. But I've got several thousand 7-inches, and a lot of them are from going to shows. A lot of them are promos that bands will hand you when you go to their shows.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
numbered to 50, numbered to 100, or the first 150 people to show up gets a free 7-inch of the band.
yeah,
I've
yeah,
got so many of them. I love going to local shows. Doesn't even
yeah,
matter the genre. Doesn't matter the genre. Hell,
yeah. That's great. That's cool.
I've went to see gospel singers before. I just love music of all forms.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, man. Thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate this.
No, no, no worries at all. Thank you.
And
So,
I'll send you a link to this once it's up. It'll take a while because I'm hella behind on schedule. But
okay.
anyway, thanks so much, Tim.
Yeah. See ya.